Hello and welcome to Marble Rundown, your source for the most important Marble news of the week that you need to know. Now here's your hosts, Ballmer and Dan Orboole.
Hello everyone, I'm back, and I gotta say that I missed this part of my life more than I thought I would.
Hey, the show just isn't the same without you around.
Well, it looks like things are still standing at least. A small part of me worried that it would all fall to pieces without me.
Amazingly, we don't seem to be quite that incompetent. I mean, this week marks our 10th episode. Double digits! I think we're starting to get the hang of things around here. How about you all leave a like for 10 episodes?
You know what, I think that sounds like a great idea. Give producer Jay that little extra bit of dopamine he needs to get through the day. Alright, we've got some important things to deal with this week. Know ya bluets that could possibly be tied back to me, so let's see here. What did you flub this time around?
I think you'll be surprised on that front.
What? This is it? I mean, yes, you blew it, but come on, that's no fun. People look forward to this segment. I'm with Blue True here. I'm very disappointed in you, Dan. Think of the ratings.
I'm very sorry, Bob. I'll try to make some more mistakes today.
Thank you. So coming into this week, Cool Moody sat atop the standings, with Ghost Plasma and Superball not far behind. But right out of the gate, it was a few new faces making early impressions in Comet and Red Number 3. But my goodness, this start from Nemo. Someone fell asleep at the gate. The opening segment of the race was a bit slower than the tracks we'd seen the past few weeks, but that gave us a moment to take deep breaths before the excitement kicked in. Summer Sky joined the front early on, something we've seen from them on a number of occasions this year.
Yeah, so I'll interject for a moment to say that the track this week transitioned back and forth between narrow, curvy segments and a few open straightaways, which led to a very different type of race from what we'd seen so far this year. Not only that, this course had a few paths that actually were objectively worse than others.
Yup, and boy oh boy did Comet find out the hard way. Hope you enjoyed first place while it lasted, Comet. Ghost Plasma also found one of the course's pitfalls. Despite a strong opening, no one drops like a stone through a bridge like that and gets away clean. That's a DNF for you, my friend. But back at the front of the pack, we saw something that hasn't happened since last year's rally. Red Number 3, grabbing the lead and looking like a new marble running back out into first place. Red was looking to be back in the form we all knew them to be capable of. It wasn't quite enough to earn the win, though just by the closest of margins. After hanging around for most of the race, it would be Lollipop swooping in at the last second to steal the victory and earn their first win of the year. But don't feel bad for Red Number 3, as they and El Capitan both rounded out the podium with their best finishes of the season to date. So at the end of the day, the race had 3 DNFs, and Cool Moody retained their hold on first place atop the standings. Ghost Plasma drops to 3rd overall with a DNF, while Superball takes 2nd.
So if we're going to talk about the biggest moments of this race, we absolutely have to start with the one thing everyone's been talking about. The hair.
The hair?
The hair. We've seen a number of marbles attempt to disrupt events before, but nothing that has ever succeeded to the same extent as this hair. Look at that. Look, zoom in closer, now enhance. Enhance! The impact the hair had on the camera footage was paramount.
Dan, literally no one was talking about that.
Oh, what, really?
Really?
I find that hard to believe. Okay, going off script here for a second. Question of the day. What's been the craziest race interruption you've ever seen, and why was it the hair on the camera this week? Let us know in the comments, and make sure you use the hashtag QOTD.
Okay, Dan. I think the bigger news here was probably the first one of the year for Lollipop with that last second victory.
I mean, yeah, that's also important. Okay, with the win, Lollipop moves up a whole 7 places in the standings and now sits in 4th place, 16 points behind the league-leading Cool Moody. It's been a real hit-and-miss season for Lolly, so this is definitely an important win. Let's take a look at how that win came about. Lollipop started in the front corner here and had a decent start. Made their way to the top 5 early on and just kinda hung around for most of the race. I mean, we see this sort of stuff from the winners most weeks. It's a very reliable tactic if you can get in the top 5 relatively early on. But big defining moment here at the end. Now, this may just look like wasteful back and forth wobbling, but look at that speed that's maintained. This is quite similar to a slalom skier, moving side to side with the natural curves and hills of the track. Kept up that momentum before Red Number 3 took a slight bounce to the left and seized the lead at the last curve of the race. A big finish for a big race.
But as big as this win was for Lollipop, we can't stress enough how huge this race was for Red Number 3, and that's why they're our focus on today's player spotlight.
Yeah, and it's not just because they're a big name in the Marble Rally with thousands of adoring fans and staunch haters.
Oh yeah, lots on the line here. Look, after the off-season surgery, which we've talked about ad nauseum, it was a rough start to the year. 4 races down and no finishes better than 10th place. It was looking like it could be a potentially disastrous season for the returning champion. But wow, this is just what the doctor ordered. An old familiar track that Red is very comfortable on. Just what was needed to remind them of the good old days. Remember back in 2018 when Red number 3 pulled off an incredibly decisive victory on this very same course? Red definitely felt right at home here and showed it early on. With an explosive start just out of the opening gate and some excellent front running that they've always been so good at. Look, clearly it wasn't all rosy. That was an embarrassing slip up right at the end. But this is a very positive sign for a competitor who was starting to look like their best days were behind them.
No matter how you feel about Red number 3, it's encouraging to see that 2019 wasn't their last hurrah. It's good to see them back in contention. Break time.
Yep.
Okay, back soon.
Welcome back, everyone. It's nearly time for the deep dive.
Hello! So I found this incredibly fascinating.
But
Normally...
before we get to Drew, we've got a few announcements to make sure you're all aware of.
Right. So first of all, and this is the bad news up front, Le Marble race is officially off the books.
No! I was so full of intrigue. I need to know what's going on with that event.
Don't we all? But don't worry, the JMRC has confirmed that it's still coming, but as of right now it's on indefinite pause. Certainly will come eventually, but other things are taking priority. The big new feature is the annual Halloween race, which we should probably expect to see in the next few weeks.
Spooky. I guess I'll leave the lights on when I watch that one. This old heart can't take too many new frights. At any rate, looks like we've got a lot of fun things to look forward to in the next month.
Yes, and then at the end, there's this one last thing. We got some Marbula 1 news in the form of a teaser video this week.
Oh yes, this. So excited for that. And in particular, the newsworthy stuff. We now have a confirmed list of the teams competing. Hey, Levi, throw up that confirmed list on the screen. Thanks.
Lots of familiar favorites there. What are the big newsworthy changes?
Joining the fray this year are the Cobalts, Jungle Jumpers, Oceanics, Crazy Cat's Eyes, Minty Maniacs, and Bumblebees. Meanwhile, it looks like both the Hornets and Rojo Rollers will be sitting this year out. So no date yet, but we know it's early November, and that's only a few weeks away.
Can't wait. Alright, Drew, it's your time. What have you got for us this week? Oh, hang on, let me unmute him.
Some open space and watch them soar.
Hey Drew, what have you got for us this week?
You had me muted for the last few minutes, didn't you?
Of course, it wasn't your spot yet. Why, did you say something?
No. Nothing important.
Okay, great. So what did you find to talk about this week?
Alright, here we go again. So I find this incredibly fascinating. Normally on these tracks, you'd see those along the wall get out to an early lead, like was saw in the first few races, but the shape of the track here gave us something a little bit different. Whereas most of our other courses encourage the racers to ride the wall, this course, at least initially, has a clearly defined groove in the middle. You'll notice around this first corner that none of the racers got anywhere near the wall. The whole group stayed clustered closely together, which allowed for very few position changes early on. That's why being in the front row was so crucial on this course. Here's how the positions sorted themselves after the first 5 seconds of the race. Notice how insane this is, slanted towards the front row. That's an average placement of 5.7. For some context, if no one in the front got past, you'd get the best possible average of a 5.5. This is the highest we've seen out of any race this year. And it lasted. Here's the heat map for the first checkpoint, which virtually looks identical. This trend continues, an average placement of 5.9. Yeah, I'd say that's significant. We can track this over the second checkpoint as well. And then finally, the final results of the race. Now, some competitors got stuck and there were some DNFs that affected the final numbers. But if we ignore those, the front row gave us an average finish place of 7.1. Compare that to the back row with an average finish of 10.9. You can't ignore the impact that the opening design of this track had. And maybe, just maybe, that's a big part of why red number 3 performed so well this week. Look at that prime spot at the front, ready to ride the curve of this familiar track and push off the competitors to grab a strong opening position. And we've always known they do best when front running. Give red some open space and watch them soar. And that's it for this week. Back to you two.
Thanks, Drew. Great insights as always.
Yeah, sure, anytime, guys. I'll see you again next week for race 6.
Definitely. Looking forward to it.
That makes one of us.
Drew Discman, everyone. Alright, Bob. Now that we know exactly what's going on, let's move on to our predictions. What do you think?
Sure thing. So I hear you found a trend in your predictions.
Yes, I have. Honestly, my prediction reputation has taken a bit of a hit lately. I mean, it's not that I've made bad picks, the timing just hasn't lined up. I picked Dragon's Egg a week before they would actually win, and then Lollipop a week ahead of their actual win. So if I pride myself on nothing else, it's my ability to recognize a trend. So I'm going to double down on my prediction for last week for Ghost Plasma for this week. If I predicted them for the last race, that means they're going to win this time. I can feel it.
My, how the mighty have fallen. I'll have you know that I picked a podium finisher in each of the past 2 weeks.
Oh, very convenient, given that coincidentally lines up with your 2-week absence, with no one to verify these wild and outlandish claims.
Hey, you can't prove I didn't. Anyways, with all this momentum behind
Alleged momentum.
I'm definitely going to keep it going strong with a Cobra prediction. Not only would I just love for that comeback to continue, you heard Drew. Front right is where you want to be, and that's where they're starting. I mean, technically Blizzard Blaster will have the best spot, but come on. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
It takes a brave marble to predict that 17th place overall will win the next race. Brave or stupid.
Hey, I guess time will tell, eh, Dan?
From the fans.
Well, last week we asked everyone who they thought deserved to make it to Marbula 1 this year, and we had some, shall we say, in-depth responses.
No kidding. Clearly you've all given this a lot of thought. There's no way we could ever feature all these in a video here.
I want to try though, so let's roll some of those by right now.
I mean, those will cover our faces. You don't think that's a problem?
Oh, I doubt it. I don't think there's much appeal in our ugly mugs. Anyway, there's a lot of good stuff here. We'll have them linked in the comments, so go take a look. Special shout out to Matthew. Thanks again everyone for being such great fans of the show.
And now for this week's actual question of the day, which is...
Exactly what we said before. Favorite disruption in a marble event.
We're sticking with that one? It's not the one producer Jay has planned for us. You know he focus tests these questions to a ridiculous degree.
What's the point of being an internet celebrity if you can't flex your influence every once in a while? Hashtag QOTD. Don't forget, favorite disruption.
Well, Dan, that's the end of the show.
Hey, you made it. Didn't even collapse once. I'm so proud of you.
Hey now, I was sick. Okay? I'm not that old and frail yet.
Of course not, Bob. I'll just take a second to remind everyone that we have a Discord server. Come join in the conversation with other TMR fans and engage with the creators of your favorite series directly. And sometimes even Bob when he gets over his technophobia.
I hear the youngins having a great time there. I'll try and make an appearance this week. Well, from myself, Dan, and the rest of the crew here, thanks for joining us on another magnificent episode of Quality Internet Entertainment. We'll see you all next week.
Bye, everyone.